Let me ask you this question. Do you believe Micah Parsons will be on the field for the Dallas Cowboys come September 4th in Philadelphia? Joining me on today's episode is the editor at Blogging the Boys, but more importantly, he is a friend of mine. He is RJ Ochoa. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing well, dude. It's great to be with you. It's great to be in August, and great to have football happening left and right about time.
So, fun fact, you are actually the first guest in Kretschman media history. So that is something you will always be able to put on your resume for all time.
Yeah, I mean, why stop at resume? I think tombstone is where I need to have this put for it to take full effect.
So I definitely appreciate that. But obviously, Jerry Jones is great at keeping this team in the headlines. And his story of the year is what I'm going to start to call it, is the whole Micah Parsons situation. Let me ask you this question. Do you believe Micah Parsons will be on the field for the Dallas Cowboys come September 4th in Philadelphia?
100%. I mean, I don't know how. I understand people's need to take the trade request seriously. I mean, Micah said it, like it stands to reason, but I think I don't want to speak for you, but I think like you and I probably saw it and we're like, okay, that's part of this whole thing that didn't need to be this way. And it's exhausting and it's taking up way too much oxygen, but we all know how this ends. And we've known how this ends for a very long time. We know this ends with Micah becoming the highest paid non-quarterback in NFL history. And now that the trade request has happened, you can file it away with CeeDee Lamb's pissed off tweet last year, or the Zeke Who stuff, or any other kind of moment in that realm that we've seen over the course of the last decade from this team.
Yeah. What do you think it is? Why do you think they carry out these contracts and wait till the last minute to sign these guys? I just don't understand it. I think that, not only from a football business perspective, it doesn't make sense, but just from a regular business perspective, it doesn't make any sense, because they're going to end up paying these guys, $5 to sometimes even $7 million on average per year. And once you multiply that by 4, you're talking about $20 million over the life of the contract that they cost themselves for waiting these guys out. I just don't understand it. Maybe they make that money back with all the, first take headlines that they get, but I don't understand. What do you think the case is there?
I think that we've all unfortunately have gone down this rabbit hole, but we've been dragged, like, against our will, down this rabbit hole over time. And at first, I think you apply the logic of, well, like you just said, like, you're going to ultimately cost yourself more because you're going to do this. And you hinder yourself. You're not able to sign other would-be free agents, right? And this was true for Micah last year. It was true for Dak. It was true for CeeDee. Like, we could go on and on and on and on. And so I have come to the conclusion that it's one of two possibilities, maybe a merging of them. And for the record, I find them each to be preposterous, but we're this far down, like to where now we have to consider some illogical things because, we're here. And so one would be that they want the attention, and maybe it is for financial gain, to your point, or maybe it's just some sick, twisted game to them, right? Like it's fun, it's enjoyable, and they own it, so they can do what they want. But I did not used to put a lot of credence into that thought, but like 2 weeks ago, Adam Schefter suggested that, and on 105.3 The Fan, and for Adam Schefter, being who he is, understanding who he is, to openly suggest that they do this for PR purposes is quite startling to me. And so again, I have to consider that. And the other idea would be what a lot of people suggest is that they don't have the liquid cash. And I'm not going to pretend to be a savvy enough businessman to understand the inner workings of all that. And look, this is the most valuable professional sports franchise in the world. Granted, it's backed by a singular family, not some corporate firm. And so that kind of, passes the smell test a little bit. But it does sound stupid to say they don't have the actual dollars and cents to make it work. But again, because we keep going through this, it just, you have to consider some pretty illogical stuff.
Yeah. So this upcoming season, I actually think that the Cowboys are in a good situation to win 10 plus games this upcoming year. I think they improved their offensive line. I think that's going to be a lot better than it was last year. The receiver room has obviously taken a step forward. We'll see with the defense. I'm a little worried there, but I think it's going to be good enough to be able to get this team to 10 plus wins. What are your expectations for the Cowboys this upcoming season? Do you think that this is a playoff team?
I do. Some of that is you get 3 wild cards, right? I mean, it's you got to kind of try to not be a playoff team, kind of like the 2024 Cowboys, right? Like you almost have to willfully sabotage yourself because even last year, and you did a great job chronicling this, but we would all agree, we don't have to relitigate this, but that they kind of sabotaged the team. They sabotaged the roster. They sabotaged Mike McCarthy. Again, not to go through the whole thing, and they still won 7 games, right? Like, and that was with Dak missing over half the season. So like you can try really, 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 really hard to be bad at this whole thing and still just like sleepwalk your way to 7 wins. And that's why, I've been saying for months now, originally the win total for them was 7.5, and that's bumped up a little bit to 8.5. It's still easy money. This is not a team, like, to be clear, I'm not saying they're going to win the Super Bowl, Chris, dude, go, put the bet right now, whatever. That's not my point. But my point is they will be in the mix. They will absolutely be, I'm not foolish enough to sit here and doubt the Eagles in our current moment. I think multiple things can be true in that the Cowboys play very well against the Eagles, that Dak Prescott plays very well against the Eagles, but the Eagles play very well against everybody else. And so I know there hasn't been a repeat division champion in a very long time, but if anyone's going to do it, it might be these Eagles. And so that being said, even if that does happen, I think that Dallas is in a position to win somewhere around 10, 11 games, just kind of depending on the random, one possession game if it goes their way. And I think they'll be a playoff team. And ultimately, I think that their future there will depend on their draw. Something I've said a lot over the last few years is, we talk about like, oh, the 49ers are this like super mighty team. Yeah, that they beat the Cowboys twice in their 3 playoff losses. And we don't like give them a pass for that. We're just like, oh, the Cowboys lost in the playoffs. Like, yeah, well, they're losing to these like really, really good teams. And I don't mean this as a shot to the Eagles. And I know it's always fun to make those, but like they have yet to get, and I know this, the Daniel Jones Giants in the divisional round. Like they have yet to just get that layup. And maybe you could argue that the Jordan Love Packers were that game for them and they just blew it and they just squandered their chance. But I think they'll be in the mix. I think they'll be a playoff team. If Philly does regress, I think that they'll be maybe challenging for the division. I'm not really too fearful of Washington. And then at that point, it's just, can you fight this 30-year-old shadow that's been hanging over everybody's head?
Yeah, I think this upcoming year, with the addition of George Pickens, I think that Dak Prescott is in for a huge year. Do you think that Dak Prescott has the opportunity to have the best season of his career this upcoming year?
I will say no, because I don't think he'll ever touch 2023 again. Like, and that's just like, it was that good. You know what I mean? And so, but like, if he comes close to that, right, if he falls just shy of 2023, it technically wouldn't be career best. But I think that he'll play very, very well. I like, your general over on Dak, obviously from a passing standpoint. Again, I don't mean to just keep saying, but I follow you and I know how great of a job you do covering this team. Like that Dak doesn't get evaluated objectively. And that's not a woe is me or whatever. It's just stating the facts. And so, people sit here and fairly talk about Jalen Hurts finishing second in MVP voting in 2022, and they use that to prop him up, and they should. And in the same breath, they should use Dak finishing second in MVP voting in 2023, or Lamar last year. Pick whoever you want. But that doesn't happen. When it comes to loud conversations about Dak, it's just the meme of it all. It's the Cowboys of it all. And I bring all that up to say he's a very, very good quarterback. I don't care where you rank him. He's a top 10 guy. He flirts with top 5, when he's on his own level of supernova. He's more than capable of being a franchise quarterback to lead a team and to take over a game, to have 400 yards and 5 touchdowns in a singular game. And maybe we'll have that a couple of times. But I do believe that the Cowboys probably want to have some level of offensive balance. I don't know what that looks like at the moment with the state of the run game and our kind of general questions there. But I certainly believe that George Pickens is going to help him, even if it doesn't, lead to a career high in a technical and literal sense.
Yeah, because like my thing with the whole Dak Prescott top 10 thing is like, if we're going to use playoff performance, which like when you look at him compared to some of the other quarterbacks that they say are like top of the league when it comes to like Herbert and Lamar Jackson, like I just don't think it's fair to hold him accountable for the playoff performances, but then look past that with Lamar and Justin Herbert. I don't think that Dak's a Lamar type of quarterback, but he's definitely in that top 10. I don't care where people rank him in there, but he's definitely in the top 10. I got one more question I got to ask you. Do you have a second? Can I ask you this?
Yeah, I've got any time you want.
Awesome. Brian Schottenheimer, what do you think Brian Schottenheimer is going to do this first year as a coach?
Man, like I think that we have to evaluate him two ways when this season's over, and it's how he fared as a head coach and how he fared as an offensive play caller. You and I have talked in the past. I maintain that Mike McCarthy gets zero credit, and not just for his Cowboys tenure, but his Packers tenure. And despite the fact that we've learned that Aaron Rodgers is not exactly the easiest person to work with, and we still are like, Mike sucks, like Mike did nothing with the Packers and whatever. And look, we all, like, objective people like you and I would like to think like you and I sit here and say Dak was second MVP voting in 2023. CD had the super special year in 2023. And we say that in the same breath as we say Mike McCarthy sucked. Dude, who was calling the offensive plays? And I know he had issues and they had the dust up in San Francisco and kind of figured things out, but like to give him zero credit is really unfair in my mind. And so I bring that up to say losing him is significant. I don't care what anybody wants to say. Like, losing him really changes, or it just changes because we don't know. I mean, we simply do not know. And I know you've talked about Shotty is so unique in that we can't really find any reason, or not even find, there isn't recent data to look at because of the unique path he's taken to getting this job. And so it's hard to say, like, when McCarthy took over play calling, we were so easily able to go to his Green Bay days, right? And be like, well, we expect this. We expect him to challenge and blah, blah, blah. So I expect Brian to cultivate this culture that we've been seeing. Now, that's been thwarted by this recent development with Micah, which is really unfortunate and really frustrating and really maddening. But I expect him to have a tighter group, and maybe to win some of those tougher, grittier games that they've kind of let fall by the wayside in the past, like down that 23 season, the Buffalo game, the Miami game, like those types of things. I don't think they'll get their doors blown off anymore just because they'll stand a little bit taller. They'll have a little bit more pride. But I would be lying if I had any like actual prediction for what his offense is going to look like, because we simply don't know right now. I mean, his offenses in the past have been so heavily run oriented, but like is Javonte Williams going to carry the ball 300 times? Like, oh, it's really difficult to know that. And so at the same time, like, are they just going to air it out? Is it going to be CD and George Pickens all the time? Or is Jake Ferguson going to get his piece? I really don't know. And so that makes it exciting, but that makes it really terrifying. I know he has swooned us and we humana because he speaks well, and I'm happy about that. But I also think there's a potential where we all remember how mad we were the Friday night at 9 p.m. when they broke the news that they were going to be hiring him. And we sit here and say, yeah, turns out this was the mistake that we thought it was the entire time. And we got swept up in the magic of it all. And so I hope it's not that, obviously, but he's the biggest wild card. Like, forget Dak, forget Pickens, forget Micah's contract. The true wild card on this team is how good Brian Schottenheimer ultimately is.
Yeah, because I mean, like, look, if he comes out here and he's Kyle Shanahan, this roster, I think, is more than enough to potentially make a push here. But if he comes out here and he's, who's a Gerard Mayo, then, this team is going to be in big trouble. So that is a great point you make. I 100% agree with you. And I do agree with the McCarthy thing, where it's just like McCarthy was good for this team, but I just don't think they were going to get where they wanted to get with Mike McCarthy. So I think you made a really good point there. But RJ, I really appreciate your time. You can find RJ at Blogging the Boys. Where else can they find you at, RJ?
I'm anywhere and everywhere you consume content. Generally, I'm RJ Ochoa on most of those places. But TikTok, where I met you, somebody had that, so I had to go with RJ.Ochoa, and that bothers me every day. But yeah, I mean, if you search RJ Ochoa, I'm around. I appreciate you having me on and giving me some time. My best of luck. My wishes for you are health, wealth, and happiness with this adventure you're on. I know you'll succeed because you do in everything that you attempt, and so I hope that this season is just positive. I mean, we're so due for just like a good ride. I mean, we kind of had it when camp started, and now like just this sputtering is. It doesn't take much to ruffle our feathers, and it's just a matter of like just let us enjoy this. Like, that's all we're asking for. Last year was so bad. We just want, like, I hate to sound so defeated, but like, I know you're not going to win the Super Bowl, but just let me lie to myself for 3 hours every Sunday.
RJ, thank you very much for the kind words. I appreciate that, my friend. And yeah, awesome having you on, my friend.
Appreciate it.